guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a postpartum Q&A, like sort of TMI edition. This idea was given to me by one of my subscribers, Adler. She messaged me on Instagram, and I thought that a lot of her questions were really fantastic and that you guys would appreciate the answers to them. So yeah, let's jump into it. The first thing she asked was baby dancing. Baby dancing after baby is born. So if you don't know like the lingo, because I feel like that is like app lingo, fertility tracking app lingo, baby dancing. Baby dancing is just like a fun way of saying like making a baby, like trying to make a baby. Ask what baby dancing is like after baby is born and your relationship with your husband, and like if you guys get frustrated and how you deal with intimacy in general. I think intimacy and baby dancing is going to be honestly, like, for the beginning, is gonna just be dependent on the type of labor and delivery experience you have. I had a 4th degree tear, and so for me, like having split open, baby dancing and being intimate with my husband was kind of low down on my priority list. And I know that sounds really bad, and that might make like a lot of husbands want to like run for the hills, but let's be real, like you just went through one of the most insane experiences ever, and like for me it was traumatic too, and you just push a human out of your vagina. Like that is insane and intense and amazing. And so honestly, like at least my approach to it, and Jeff like was pretty on board with this, was, you know, I'm gonna take as long as I need to heal, and then when I feel comfortable and ready, then like fine, sure, baby dance, let the baby dance away, like no problem. But for me, healing was really tough and really hard, and so honestly I wasn't like racing to get back into the bedroom, if that makes sense, and I just really wanted to respect my body and respect the healing process, because again, I literally just pushed a baby out of me. But I will say this, having a baby introduces other layers of intimacy into your relationship, especially like for us at least, like those sleepless nights. Where am I going with this arm is the real question. Those sleepless nights, nothing could mean more to me than when Jeff would get up at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m., at 4 a.m. with me. And he didn't have to do that, right? Like if I was the one nursing the baby, like Jeff couldn't do anything, but he got up anyway, and it was so that I didn't feel so alone. And he still does that. Like Hugo's 17 weeks old, and he won't wake up every single time I wake up, but he'll still wake up and like ask if I need anything, and then he'll go back to sleep. And even just that like little bit of acknowledgement that like, hey, I know that you're getting up at 3 a.m. and that this sucks, and that you're still waking up every hour and a half, but like just know I'm here with you and I'm here for you. And I'll be honest, like it's those moments that like make us want to be intimate, if that makes sense. I'm telling you right now, like having a baby is so hard, it's so exhausting, that like if you don't have that level playing field, if you don't feel like you're being supported by your partner, it's gonna be really hard for you to want to baby dance, because of like everything that you just did, everything that you just went through. You just carried that baby for 9 to 10 months. Now you're taking care of the baby around the clock. Like it'll just like your heart will want to be intimate with your husband. You're getting that support from him, if that makes sense. So I would say, a long freaking winded answer, just be patient with yourself, have open communication with your husband, and then when you feel ready, when you feel healed, then like fantastic. I think most doctors say like if you have a vaginal delivery and like minimal tearing, then 6 weeks after you give birth, then you are usually cleared to baby dance. But again, it's like super dependent on what your labor and delivery was like. She also asked, did you guys arrange a schedule of mommy and daddy duty, and who does what, and how did you come to that conclusion? So we don't necessarily have like a schedule of like what I do and what Jeff does. But I will say this, especially for like the night feedings and for overnight, be very clear with your partner about what is going to happen and what you're gonna do. Jeff and I have, like, I feel like we've tried everything. I've tried like just breastfeeding Hugo all night, like getting up by myself and doing all the feedings, which is what we're sort of doing now, to be honest. But we've also tried, like, I would wake up for one feeding and then Jeff would do the next feeding, would do like a formula feeding, and then I would do a breastfeeding at, you know, like the next time he woke up, and then Jeff would do a bottle feeding the next time Hugo woke up. So I, like, all in all, I would just say make sure that you arrange that with your partner. So figure out what you're doing. Jeff and I now, if I'm the one getting up every time with Hugo to breastfeed him, then Jeff will so sweetly and so kindly wake up around 6 a.m. to take the baby out of the room and like take him downstairs so that I can have like an hour, hour and a half of uninterrupted sleep. And I know that can sound terrifying because you're like, you seem so happy to have an hour, hour and a half of uninterrupted sleep. Like, who can function on just an hour of sleep? But like, that's motherhood in a nutshell. But yeah, it's all about communication. So figure out, and it's like your baby, right? Like, there's no like black and white way to raise your kid. There's no black and white way like to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You just have to, like, it's trial and error. And so I would say be flexible with your plan. Just like communicate with your partner, have compassion and empathy toward one another. Make sure that you're supporting each other, and then go from there. Like, figure out what works best for you, and then you can kind of figure out then like who does what. I will say in the beginning, when I was still healing from labor and delivery, Jeff was doing most of the diaper changes. So Jeff was doing, like, I would do all the feedings obviously, and then I would, like, if Hugo needed a diaper change, I would give the baby to Jeff and Jeff would do that. So that might be something, like, that might be a schedule or like a routine worth exploring. So yeah, it's just really dependent on you and your husband. The last thing she wanted me to touch on was maintaining relationships outside of like you and your husband. So did your relationships change with your friends and your family? Like, and if it did, how did it change? How did you maintain those relationships? And I think that those are such great questions. Some of my friends, especially my friends who don't have kids, those relationships have changed like nearly 100%. I don't hear from those people as much. We can't partake in activities that those people are doing. We've been invited a lot to like birthday parties and get-togethers, and we've had to say no to all of them because we can't bring, I mean, we could bring Hugo, but Hugo goes to bed at a certain time. He starts to get cranky at a certain time. Feedings, like, there's a schedule there, and it becomes really hard to veer away from that schedule. And also, like, you just start putting your baby first, and if there's a situation that isn't going to be in the best interest of your baby, you just find yourself not committing to those situations and those activities and those events quite as much as you would before. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of sad. I've definitely noticed a change in those relationships with people who don't have kids, and, you know, part of me feels sad about it, of course, but also I know, like, that I'm in a different season of life, and like, if we grow apart, we grow apart, and that's unfortunate, but that's just the reality of where we are now. That being said, having a baby has brought me closer to those friends who have kids. It's so great to be able to relate. It's so nice to have people to like bounce ideas and advice off of. It's so amazing. And so in that respect, like, some relationships have blossomed because of baby, and some unfortunately have just like sort of gone to the back burner because of baby. So it's really dependent on the people in your life and how willing people are to maintain those relationships and how willing you are to maintain those relationships, because it's a two-way street, right? Those are all the questions Amira asked. I'm just gonna include for the very last like little bit, because some of you have asked about my healing and how healing is going with my tear. And I'll give you a little bit of an update, and this is definitely TMI. But okay, so everything's healed. Someone had asked me the other day if I have looked down there yet and have checked it out. And up until, I want to say that was like 3 days ago, I hadn't. I couldn't bring myself to even like want to see what was going on down there. And I looked for the first time 3 days ago, and it looks fine. It looks okay. As good as it could look, I guess. Everything healed up. I finally, at 16 weeks, felt like I was healed, and then I could like start working out again and start moving again. Up until that point, I still felt very like this was such like a very delicate area, and like it was still healing. So I can say now confidently at like 4.5 months that I am feeling a whole lot better and that everything is healed up. I feel like I'm gonna so regret saying this on the internet, but it's harder for me to hold in gas. Ooh, that's so gross. That's so gross. Yeah. It's harder for me to hold in gas, whereas before baby I could if I needed to and wanted to. I feel so uncomfortable talking about this, if you couldn't notice. I hate like so yeah, that's harder. So if I move in a certain way or do something, it's a lot easier for that gas to pass than it was in the past. It's a fun little like postpartum Dr. Seuss rhyme for you. Yeah, I mean, recovery from a 4th degree tear, episiotomy, not fun at all, but it's healing and I'm not bleeding anymore from the front or from the back, so those are positive things. I feel like sometimes I do, like, if I'm going to the bathroom, I do sort of, not that I feel the rectal tear, but like, I'm still like a little on edge about it. Like sometimes it feels uncomfortable, but I do think it's primarily healed. Okay guys, I'm done. We're done for today. If you have any other postpartum questions or questions just about having a baby in general, leave them down in the comments below and I can do another one of these fun videos, or you can message me on Instagram. My Instagram is erika_moulton. Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up and I will talk to you all really soon. Bye guys.